The galaxy was burning. World after world had fallen to the iron grip of the Zorath Empire, a race of conquerors who knew no mercy. Their fleets moved like shadows across the stars, leaving fire and silence wherever they passed. On the edge of the Orion sector, a small colony world named Valora was dying. The skies above were filled with smoke and the broken remains of ships that had tried to resist. The people of Valora were afraid, tired, and ready to give up. In the heart of the colony's underground shelter, survivors gathered in silence. Families clung to each other, their eyes wide with fear as the distant sound of enemy cannons shook the earth. They all knew what was coming. The Zorath did not leave survivors. They never spared a city, never spared a child. Despair was heavy in the air. Among the survivors was an elder named Ryan, a man who had seen many battles in his youth. He sat by the dim firelight, whispering words that most had long forgotten. They say once, long ago, there was a world called Earth, he said softly. From Earth came a people unlike any other, fierce and stubborn. They fought even when they had nothing, and they made the galaxy tremble with their ships of war. The children listened, but the adults shook their heads. Earth was only a myth now. The humans had vanished centuries ago, wiped away by endless wars. No one believed they could return. Yet the elder's voice carried a strange fire. He looked at the dark ceiling, as if he could see the stars beyond. When the galaxy was broken before, it was Earth that stood tall, he said. And when the galaxy cries out again, they will return. Their armada will rise from the shadows, and the stars will burn with their fire. The words brought a flicker of hope to the children, but the adults turned away. Hope was dangerous. Hope could kill faster than despair. Outside, the Zorath armies closed. In their commander, Lord Zyrak, stood upon the bridge of his massive flagship, watching Valora with cold amusement. To think they resist even now, he muttered. Pathetic, these creatures still wait for a miracle that will never come. He laughed, his golden armor gleaming in the dim light of the ship's core. Humans are dust, their bones lost in forgotten graves. No one will save them. Back in the shelter, a young alien girl named Celine sat close to Elder Rian. She had heard these stories since she was a child. Unlike the others, she wanted to believe. She looked up at him with bright eyes. Do you really think they will come, Elder? She asked. The old man smiled sadly. My heart tells me yes, he whispered. My eyes tell me no, but my heart, it remembers the fire of their ships, the roar of their courage, and I pray to the stars that I am not wrong. As the night dragged on, the survivors grew restless. The sound of heavy weapons echoed in the distance, each explosion closer than the last. Mothers wept, fathers held their children tight. They could see it now. The end was near. There was no fleet to protect them, no soldiers to defend them. Only stories, only myths, only fading dreams of humans who once ruled the stars. Celine could not sleep. She climbed up the broken stairwell of the shelter until she reached the surface. The air was thick with smoke and the sky was painted with fire. In the distance, she could see the black silhouettes of Zorath warships hovering above the burning city, their weapons glowing red. Her heart trembled. She wanted to cry, she wanted to scream, but instead she whispered into the night. If there are humans still out there, if Earth still lives, please hear us, please come. At that very moment, far beyond the edge of known space, sensors flickered to life on ancient human stations, hidden deep within dark star systems. Ongdor. Mant machines stirred, their lights glowing blue for the first time in centuries. Massive hangars opened, revealing silent giants of steel. Warships that had been waiting in the shadows, unseen and forgotten, engines rumbled like thunder across empty space. One by one, ships awakened, and the void trembled with their power. But on Valora, no one knew yet. They still waited in despair. They still clung to hope that felt like dust in their hands. The enemy closed in, the skies darkened, and silence fell heavy across the world. Yet in that silence, in that final moment before death, the galaxy shifted. The legends of Earth were not finished. The hidden armada had begun to rise. The night on Valora was filled with fear. Every heart inside the shelters beat like a drum, every soul waiting for the moment when the Zorath would break through. But in the corner of that dark shelter, Elder Rian kept whispering stories the galaxy had tried to erase. He spoke of a people who never surrendered, of a world that had been scarred by war, yet had risen again and again. He spoke of Earth. Most of the survivors shook their heads. Old tales, they muttered. Empty words, they sighed. But the children leaned closer, their eyes glowing with quiet wonder. Even Celine, the young alien girl, clung to every word as if her life depended on it. Listen well, the elder said, his voice sharp with memory. Humans were not like us. They did not bow to fear. They did not bend to empires. They fought even when the stars burned against them. They built ships of steel that could cut through darkness itself, and they swore that if ever the galaxy cried out, they would return. His words carved into the silence like blades. Celine's heart raced. She had always felt something in those stories, something alive, something waiting. Elder, she whispered, if they are still out there, why have they not come yet? The elder closed his eyes, his old hands trembling. Because humanity does not rush, child. They wait, they prepare, and they strike. The stars themselves remember their wrath. Above the planet, in the void, the Zorath fleet tightened its noose. Lord Zyrak's voice echoed through his warship. Send the message across the system, he commanded. No one escapes Valora. No one survives. Let all who resist see this and despair. His officers bowed, but one of them hesitated. My lord, there are strange readings on the long-range sensors, unusual energy spikes far beyond the system. Zyrak's eyes narrowed, golden and cruel. Ghost signals, he growled. Do not waste my time with myths. He turned back to the burning world below, confident that nothing could stand against him. But those signals were real. In the darkness between galaxies, machines older than empires stirred awake. Silent codes traveled across hidden networks. Coordinates aligned, weapons charged, and deep within the heart of the void, a fleet waited. Back in the shelter, the survivors argued. One shouted, humans are gone, they cannot save us. Another cried, if they lived, they would have come long ago. The air grew heavy with despair, but Celine stood up, her small frame shaking, her voice stronger than her years. They will come, she declared. They will come because the galaxy needs them, because we need them, because even if they are shadows now, shadows can still rise. The words silenced the room. For the first time, some of the adults looked at her, not with pity, but with a flicker of hope. The elder smiled, his eyes wet with tears. Yes, child, yes, speak it loud, for even whispers can reach the stars. Outside, thunder shook the ground. The Zorath had begun their march into the colony. Metal feet pounded against broken streets. Weapons glowed like burning suns. Every second drew them closer to the shelter, closer to the end. Children clung to their mothers. Men sharpened broken blades, though they knew it would not matter. Then, suddenly, the night sky cracked. A flash unlike any seen before lit up the heavens. It was not fire. It was not lightning. It was something greater. The Zorath ships halted, their sensors screaming with confusion. Zyrak rose from his throne in fury. What is this? He demanded. No one could answer. Back on Valora, Celine felt her heart jump. She rushed to the surface, the elder following her. They looked up at the black sky now painted with strange lights. Whispers spread through the crowd. Is it them? Could it be? The elder whispered one word. Humans. The air above Valora trembled. The strange energy grew stronger, vibrations humming through the ground. The Zorath ships scrambled into formation, their weapons charging. But deep in the void, behind the veil of light, massive shadows moved. One by one, they began to emerge. Not myths, not whispers, but warships. Their hulls were sharp and endless. Black steel glowing with blue fire. Symbols of Earth marked their sides. Symbols no one had seen for centuries. The hidden Armada was real, and it was waking. The Zorath fleet hung above Valora like vultures, their ships black against the burning sky. The people in the shelters below felt the ground shake as enemy dropships prepared to descend. Fear filled every corner, every heart beat with the rhythm of doom. But far above, beyond the edge of known space, something vast was stirring. On the bridge of his flagship, Lord Zyrak watched the strange lights ripple across the stars. Explain this, he snapped, his golden eyes glowing with rage. An officer bowed low, trembling. My lord, we have detected massive energy distortions at the system's edge. The signature does not match any known empire. Zyrak sneered, his voice sharp as steel. Then it must be a trick, a desperate illusion by these weaklings. But his claws tapped against the armrest, betraying unease. At that same moment, on Valora's surface, Selene and Eldarian stood beneath the night sky. The strange lights above grew brighter, painting the smoke fillis. To heavens with blue and silver fire, Selene gasped, her small hands trembling. "They are coming, I know it," she whispered. The elder's old eyes narrowed, filled with both hope and fear. "Yes, child, but what comes through that darkness will change everything, for good or for ruin." Inside the shelter, the survivors argued again. Some believed this was salvation. Others thought it was only the final weapon of the Zorath. "No one is coming to save us," a man shouted. "The humans are dead, they are dust," another spat. But the children clung to Selene's words, their eyes wide as the sky continued to tear open. In the void, the distortions pulsed like a heartbeat. Ships of the Zorath moved nervously into formation, their captains exchanging fearful signals. "Something is out there," one whispered. "It is too large to be natural," another replied. Yet none could name it, none could face the thought that the legends might be true. A sudden silence fell across the galaxy. The sensors screamed and then went dead. Every Zorath ship froze, their screens flickering with static. It was as if something vast and ancient had swallowed all signals, all light, all sound. The enemy captains felt it before they saw it. An unseen weight pressing against their minds, whispers, faint and chilling, seemed to echo through their ships, old words spoken in a tongue they could not understand. But the survivors on Valora knew. It was human. Lord Zyrak's voice roared across the fleet. "Hold your ground, prepare weapons, whatever dares to approach will be destroyed." But his hands tightened on the throne, his chest heavy with a fear he could not name, and then, from the heart of the distortion, a shadow emerged. At first, it was only an outline, dark and massive against the starlight. The refugees who saw it cried out. Some fell to their knees, others covered their mouths in awe. The shape grew. Clearer, armor of steel, engines glowing with the light of forgotten suns. It was a warship, larger than any the Zorath had ever seen. Its surface carried scars of battles fought long ago, yet its weapons shone like new forged fire. Selene gasped, tears streaming down her face. "It is real," she whispered. "They are real." The elder fell to his knees, his hands lifted to the heavens. "By the stars, the humans have returned." But the warship did not fire, not yet. It hovered in silence, its presence alone enough to shake the Zorath fleet. Every sensor tried to scan it, but every attempt failed. It was as if the ship itself was wrapped in shadows, revealing only what it chose to reveal. On the bridge of the Zorath flagship, officers panicked. "My lord, the vessel's power output is beyond calculation. Our readings cannot define its limits," Zyrak snarled, hiding the tremor in his voice. "One ship, nothing more. Destroy it." But deep in his heart he knew, no ship should have survived this long. No ship should carry such weight, and if there was one, there would be more. Back on Valora, the survivors clung to each other as the first human warship loomed in the sky. Its engines hummed like thunder, its weapons glowed with restrained fury, and though it spoke no words, though it fired no shot, the message was clear. The myths were real. Earth had not forgotten, and this was only the beginning. The shadow of the first human warship lingered above Valora, silent and still. Its presence alone made the Zorath uneasy, their fleets hesitating, their commanders whispering in fear. Below, the survivors pressed against the broken walls of the shelter. Their eyes lifted to the heavens. They could not breathe. They could not blink as they stared at the giant of steel hanging in the sky. Selene clutched Elder Rian's hand, her voice trembling. "One ship, Elder, only one," she whispered. "Is that enough?" The elder shook his head slowly, his wrinkled eyes glimmering with something between fear and awe. "No, child, not. Enough, but one ship never comes alone. Shadows bring more shadows, and legends do not walk alone." On the Zorath flagship, Lord Zyrak's fury burned, his claws raked against the throne's metal arm, sparks flying. "One ship dares to stand before me, one ancient relic dares to cast its shadow against my fleet," he roared. "Destroy it, crush it, let this myth die once and for all." Cannons turned, weapons charged, the darkness of space filled with the glow of fire about to be unleashed. But then, before a single shot could be fired, the distortion in the sky pulsed again. The first warship was no longer alone. Another massive shadow slid out of the void, then another and another. The refugees gasped, their cries echoing through the underground shelters. One ship had become 10, 10 became 50, and the stars themselves seemed to vanish behind the growing wall of steel. Zyrak's eyes widened, his voice breaking for the first time. "Impossible," he whispered. "This cannot be." But it was real. Every reading on his screens confirmed it. Hundreds of signatures, thousands of engines, an entire fleet awakening from the dark. The sky above Valora erupted with light. Human warships poured from the distortion like rivers of fire, their hulls gleaming with scars and marks of ancient battles. Each one bore the crest of Earth, a symbol unseen for centuries, a symbol thought erased from history. But here it was, carved into steel, burning across the heavens. The people of Valora fell to their knees, some sobbing, some shouting in joy. The elder raised his trembling hands, his voice breaking. "They have come. They have truly come." Celine's tears fell freely, her voice barely a whisper. The whispers were real. The stories were true. Humanity has returned. The Zorath fleet scrambled, captains shouting, officers panicking. No fleet could hide this long, they cried. No empire could build in secret for so many years. Yet the truth was undeniable. The humans had been waiting, building, watching from the shadows, and now they had chosen this moment to strike. On the bridge of the lead human ship, silence reigned. No grand speech, no declaration, only calm voices moving with perfect precision. Every officer knew their place. Every soldier knew their duty. For centuries they had prepared for this, and tonight the galaxy would remember their name. The human fleet spread across the sky like wings of iron. Their engines glowed brighter than suns. Their weapons hummed with restrained fury, and yet they held their fire. They allowed the enemy to watch, to tremble, to realize the hopelessness of their position. It was not just war, it was message, a single phrase carried across the silence of space. "You are not alone." The words came from the human flagship, translated into every tongue across the system. On Valora, survivors cried and clung to one another, their hope reborn. On the Zorath ships, captains trembled, their claws shaking. Even Lord Zyrak's breath caught in his throat, his pride cracking under the weight of those simple words. Then the silence broke. The first line of human ships moved forward, their cannons lighting with power unseen in centuries. The Zorath scrambled to aim, to fire, to resist, but deep in their hearts, they already knew. The myths had returned, and the stars would never be the same again. The sky above Valora was no longer dark. It blazed with light as the human fleet spread across the heavens, ship after ship rising from the distortion like titans awakened from endless sleep. What began as one shadow had become an ocean of steel, each warship a fortress, each engine a star burning with fury. The people of Valora could only stare, their tears falling like rain as hope filled their hearts for the first time in generations. Celine stood upon the ruined surface, her eyes wide with wonder. "Elder, how many?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The elder could not count, his lips shaking as he tried to speak. "Too many, child, more than the stars themselves." On the Zorath flagship, Lord Zyrak gripped the armrest with claws that cut through steel. His officers reported in chaos, voices clashing with panic. "My lord, the fleet is not in hundreds, it is thousands. The signatures stretch beyond the system's edge. No empire in history has built such a force." Zyrak's golden eyes burned with rage, but beneath the fire was something he had never known before: fear. The human armada moved with perfect discipline. They did not fire, they did not rush, they simply positioned themselves across the stars like predators circling prey. Their silence was worse than any weapon. It was a silence that spoke of absolute confidence, of power so great that it did not need to prove itself. Then a voice came, calm, steady, and unshakable. From the human flagship, the transmission reached every ship, every world, every frightened heart on Valora. "This is Earth Command," the voice said. "You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. Stand firm, for humanity stands with you." The words struck deeper than any blade. The survivors in the shelters wept, their despair breaking into cries of joy. Even the hardest warriors lowered their heads, whispering thanks to the stars. But for the Zorath, those words were a curse. Zyrax snarled, his pride burning. Fire everything. Destroy them before they move. Show these ghosts they do not belong in my galaxy. The Zorath fleet obeyed, their cannons igniting, red fire filling the void, a storm of destruction unleashed against the wall of human ships. The blast struck, explosions rippled across the blackness, yet when the smoke cleared, the human fleet remained. Shields shimmered like oceans of light, absorbing the storm. Not a single ship had fallen, not a single formation had broken. The Zorath officers trembled. "It is not possible," they whispered. "Their defenses are too strong." Then for the first time the human armada moved. The lead ships shifted forward, their hulls glowing with blue fire, weapons awakening with a hum that echoed like thunder across the stars. Every survivor on Valora felt it in their bones. Every Zorath soldier felt it in their souls. This was not just war, this was judgment. The first salvo erupted, beams of white light and kinetic fire tearing through the darkness. One Zorath battleship, then another, then 5 more, shattered in seconds, their hulks drifting lifeless into the void. The survivors on Valora cheered, their voices echoing against the broken stone of their shelters. Elder Rian fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. I told you they would come," he cried. Seelan clung to him, her small body shaking with joy. "They are real, they are saving us." But the battle was far from over. The Zorath, enraged and desperate, regrouped, their massive dreadnoughts surging forward. They outnumbered any single enemy they had ever faced, but against the human armada, numbers meant nothing. For every Zorath volley, 10 human ships replied. For every dreadnought destroyed, 20 more stood in the shadows, waiting to fire. Lord Zyrax's fury turned to dread as he realized the truth. "This is not an army born in haste," he whispered. "This is an army forged in silence, built in the dark, prepared for centuries." He clenched his claws, his pride bleeding into terror. They were waiting for us. The sky above Valora shook with fire. The people below watched in awe as the Zorath fleet was torn apart piece by piece. Hope burned brighter than the flames of battle. The myths were no longer whispers. They were steel, fire, and vengeance made real. And the Armada of Earth had only just begun. The void was alive with fire. Zorath warships burned one after another as Earth's Armada unleashed its fury. Each human volley tore through the darkness like lightning, shattering enemy hulls, leaving trails of wreckage glowing red against the cold stars. Valora's skies shook with the echoes of battle, the survivors below crying out with hope and terror. Selene stood in the ruins, staring upward with wide eyes. The heavens themselves seemed to tremble beneath the roar of human cannons. "Elder, they are winning," she whispered, her small hands trembling. Rian's old face shone with tears, his voice breaking. "Yes, child, this is the wrath of Earth. This is the storm the galaxy forgot." On the Zorath flagship, chaos reigned. Officers screamed reports, their voices drowned by alarms. "My lord, 3 dreadnoughts destroyed. My lord, their weapons cut through our shields like paper." Lord Zyrax rose from his throne, his golden armor gleaming under the blood-red lights, his pride twisted into rage, his rage twisted into fear. "Hold your lines," he roared. "Fight, or be consumed." But the Zorath lines were already collapsing. Human ships moved like predators, their formations flawless, their discipline unshakable. Every strike was precise, every maneuver calculated. It was not simply war, it was art. It was vengeance painted in fire. Then, the human flagship opened its main batteries, weapons not seen for centuries, weapons thought impossible. Beams of pure light split through the battlefield, piercing straight through enemy command ships. Entire squadrons were erased in seconds, their wreckage drifting lifeless into the abyss. The survivors on Valora fell to their knees, their voices rising together in awe. "They are gods," some whispered. "No," Rian said, his voice steady. "They are humans, and that makes them greater still." The battle turned into slaughter. For every human ship lost, 50 Zorath ships fell. The enemy, once proud and unshaken, now broke apart like waves against stone. Some captains tried to flee, others begged for orders, but no command came strong enough to hold them. Zyrax's voice shook the bridge. "Do not run, cowards. We are the Zorath. We bow to no one." but deep inside, he knew the truth. For the first time in his reign, he was staring at an enemy he could not defeat. The humans had not simply returned, they had prepared for this very moment. Then the human fleet spoke again. A single transmission, cold and final, carried across every channel. "You brought war to the innocent," the voice said, calm as stone. "You believed humanity gone, forgotten, weak, but we were waiting, building, preparing in silence. Now you will learn the price of your arrogance." The words cut deeper than any blade. Zorath captains shivered, their claws shaking, even their machines seemed to falter beneath the weight of those words. And then, the second wave of Earth's wrath began. Drones and strike craft swarmed from human carriers, flooding the void with thousands of smaller fighters. They moved faster than light itself, weaving through enemy lines, tearing apart ships from within. Explosions rippled like storms, painting the heavens with fire. The Zorath fleet broke, commanders shouting retreat, soldiers screaming, but the humans did not stop. On Valora, Selin's tears flowed freely, her voice rising with the others. "Hope lives," she cried. "They came back. They came for us." Rian looked up, his hands shaking. "And this is only the beginning," he whispered. For every fallen Zorath ship, the galaxy remembered. For every beam of human fire, legends turned into truth. The Armada of Earth had returned, and its wrath was endless. Above Valora, the battle neared its end. The Zorath fleet, once a wall of terror, was now broken fragments drifting lifeless in the void. But humanity did not celebrate, not yet. Their ships still moved with precision, their weapons still burned. Because Earth did not fight for victory alone, they fought to send a message, a warning to every empire that watched from the shadows. The wrath of Earth had awakened, and the galaxy would never forget it. The battlefield was silent at last. Zorath wreckage floated like broken bones across the stars, their once mighty fleet reduced to ashes. The sky above Valora glowed with fire, but it was not the fire of destruction, it was the fire of deliverance. Earth's Armada stood unbroken, thousands of ships shining like guardians in the dark. On the surface, the survivors emerged from their shelters, their trembling eyes lifted to the heavens. For the first time in their lives, they saw hope not as a dream, but as steel and light above them. Seelan fell to her knees, her tears flowing as she whispered, "They saved us, Elder. They truly saved us." Elder Rian stood beside her, his frail hands shaking, his old eyes wet. "Yes, child. The whispers were true, the myths were real, humanity has returned." Then the sky opened. From the human flagship, smaller craft descended, sleek and silver, carrying soldiers in black armor marked with the crest of Earth. The survivors gasped as the humans walked among them, their presence both terrifying and comforting, tall, unyielding, their faces hidden behind helmets but their voices calm. "You are safe now," one said, his words simple yet heavy with power. "We will rebuild, we will protect, you are not alone anymore." The people wept, some touched the soldiers' hands, some bowed in reverence. Selene stepped forward, her small frame shaking. She looked up at the human commander who stood like a mountain before her. "Why now?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why did you wait so long?" The commander's helmet shifted, the glow of his visor reflecting her tears. "For centuries we watched, hidden in the dark," he said. "We knew the galaxy was not ready. We knew enemies greater than the Zorath still waited in the shadows, so we prepared, in silence, in patience, for the moment when hope would matter most." His words chilled the survivors, even as Hey comforted them. If the Zorath were not the greatest threat, then what else was waiting? High above, in the void, the human fleet shifted into new formations. They were not celebrating, they were not cheering, they were already preparing. Messages were transmitted across hidden networks, orders sent to ships still cloaked in the deep. Earth's true strength was not what was seen tonight, but what remained unseen. On the ruined bridge of his flagship, Lord Zyrak knelt among smoke and shattered steel, his pride shattered, his fleet destroyed. He looked out at the human ships with hatred burning in his heart. "This is not the end," he growled. "Others will come. Greater than you, greater than me, and the galaxy will drown in war." But his words carried no power, for his empire was broken, his reign ended in a single night. On Valora, the survivors gathered as the humans raised their banners over the ruined city. For the first time in centuries, the symbol of Earth burned bright for all to see. Elder Rian whispered, his voice heavy with awe. This is history reborn. This is the moment the galaxy will never forget. Celine looked up at the sky, her heart swelling with hope and fear. If they came back once, they will never leave again, she said. They are our guardians, our legends returned. The human commander turned his gaze to the stars, his voice carried over the comms, a message to every listening ear in the galaxy. Let this be known, he declared. Humanity is not a myth, humanity is not dust. We are here, and we will never fall again. The words spread like wildfire, across systems, across worlds, carried by whispers and shouts, and for the first time in countless years, the galaxy trembled not in fear of the Zorath, but in awe of Earth. Yet in the deepest void, far beyond the edge of every map, something ancient stirred. Darkness older than empires shifted, its gaze turning toward the light of Earth's return. The battle for Valora was won, but the war for the galaxy had only just begun. The legends of humanity had returned, and their story was far from over.